how'd you come up with that concept, and why did you name your podcast What Are You Made Of?
So I grew up a lot around a lot of broken people. I grew up where my mom and dad, like I'm the only child of them together, but I have seven brothers and sisters, right? But I'm the only one with the same parents. And despite being around with people a lot, I felt like I was alone a lot of times. And so I'm in my own head. And if I needed encouragement or needed something, I'm either going to have to create it myself or I'm not going to get it. So I decided at a young age that talking to myself helps me. So I did a lot of self-talk, somehow naturally started talking to myself positive to build myself up. What are you made of is something that I used to say to myself all the time. I still do. I used to say things like, I'm built for this, man. Hey, you got this. Look what you've already accomplished. This is easy. And so I started doing that. And then I shared my story about my dad throwing in the towel on me when I was 11 years old, which I thought was an ordinary story. And, basically, just long story short, I told him that I wanted to leave his house after 3 years of living with him and going through a lot of psychological mental abuse as a kid with conflicts with child support, custody, step parents being involved, a lot of conflict. I needed to get out of that environment. And my mom filed court papers. I got out of that environment by him getting those papers one day. And he said, hey, says what you want to live with your mom. They're not very well off there. They don't have money like we have here. Are you sure you want to do that? Now, my dad was my hero. Like he was a mason, had his own business, big forearms, rough hands. I always looked up to him for being a hard worker. And he had this wad of $100 bills in his pocket with a rubber band around it. And I always said it was cool to me, right? So when he found out and I confirmed the fact that I wanted to leave there, he peels one of the $100 bills off, crumples it up and throws it at me and says, here, you're going to need this when you're living on the streets with your mother one day. And so right at that moment, that's where the fire was really lit. I'm like, you know what? No way, dude. This ain't happening. I know I'm right in this situation. And now stubbornness is what I have in me, can be a strength and a weakness, an asset and a liability. But in this case, it's a strength because I've said to myself, I'm not going to let you win. And I can usually, what I do is I'll go back to that. Anytime I'm in a tough time, like, dude, I can't let that happen. That ain't happening. I'm going to continue to go and see how far I can take this thing. So that's where it all stemmed from. And when I started sharing my story with people, which I thought was ordinary, they're like, dude, that inspires me, man. And I'm like, really? Like a lot of people come from broken homes and be giving up on me. Come on. That's ordinary. So I realized I didn't have to go to the moon and have a story about going to the moon to connect with people. So I shared the story and then I'm like, well, if it works for me, I might as well bring other people on and share their stories. And that's how it all came to play.
That's very cool.
Which you were on, by the way. You were on the show to share.
Yes. I had a blast on your show, man. And look, I mean, and to kind of, circle around to what you were talking about, do you notice that a lot of people that came from broken homes, they just spend their whole life being victims, just spend their whole life, poor me. Why is it me that was born with these parents and born in this neighborhood? And they spend the rest of their life blaming society for the problems that they have in their life when really it was a big chunk of it, 80% of it probably was their fault. I mean, do you see that?
Yeah. I was very fortunate when I left and I moved in with my mom that she had married another gentleman on her third marriage. Love her to death. We call her Crazy Mom. That's what the kids call her in an affectionate way. But she married a guy named George who was not very good with money as far as making money, but he was good at stretching money. And so George taught me right from wrong. Right at the right time, 11 years old, when I was getting ready into puberty, become a man, he was there to tell me, look, this is what you do. Good things, you do good things happen. Do bad things happen. Keep it simple and you'll be good. And he had to whip my ass a couple times, not physically, but just like, I remember, here's a story. I don't think I've told this before, but I'm at a 6th grade dance. I'm 12 years old. And some girl was acting up or something. And I kicked her like in the leg, right? Not hard, just kicked her. And he saw me, he was chaperoning the dance and he went over and he grabbed my neck and he pulled me out of the dance. And that was the most physical he ever got with me. But he said to me, don't you ever lay a hand on a woman, kick a woman, I don't care what they do to you. You never, and then, so this is an example. As a 12-year-old kid, I didn't know any better. I'm like, so little lessons like that, and basically put me on the right track. Then to understand that, hey, if you want to be in control of your life, you're responsible. You need to take control of it. You need to figure out things. Like, you can't blame other people for things. So what, that girl like did whatever she did. You're responsible for your reaction and how you take it, not her. Don't point fingers. And so that lesson right there gave me control of my life.
Hey, look, man, I got to jump in because that is just crazy that you said that, because I was in the fourth grade and there was this girl that and this is the funny thing she was saying. She called me little buff boy. That was the word. I'll never forget it my whole life.
That.
I'm 45 years old right now. I was probably, I don't know, 10 maybe, 11 maybe. And she just kept rattling me and calling me these names. And I knocked her out. I mean, I punched her. And oh my God, my mom kicked the shit out of me when I got home. I mean, I got in trouble at school. I got the principal. I mean, I was like, and trust me, man, it's moments like that in your life that really get you thinking, look, man, that's just, they're just right and wrong. There's right things to do and there's wrong things to do. And that was a wrong thing for me to do. So I love that he taught you from a young age how not to be a victim of your circumstance, but to take responsibility and say, man, it's me. It's my fault. And I think I've been pretty decent at that throughout the years to do my best to, man, when I screw up, look, if I make a mistake, Mike, C-Roc, man, I mean, I'll tell you I made a mistake. And I'm the first one to apologize to you. I'm the first one to tell you I'm sorry. I'm the first one to make things right. And I think that's a huge reason why you're such a great leader. How important is it to have a great coach, man?
Well, before that though, let me just add something there. Cause take it a step further. Even if you don't make a mistake, what if somebody else makes a mistake? What if somebody in your life around you, everybody on the outside looking in at the situation would say, man, yeah, it was their fault. Yeah, you didn't do anything. But you take it and say, you know what? No, it was my fault. What could if I didn't do something different, like what could I have done differently to change the outcome? When you do that and take that next step to 100% responsibility, you gain control of everything. Your life is, so some people's ego won't let them do that. They're like, no, that person hit me. That person hit me, right? But no. What could I have done to change the situation? Because when you blame anybody else, even if you think and the outside thinks it's their world or their fault, guess what? You're not in control. And I talk a lot about whether you want to be the puppet or the puppet master, puppeteer. And nobody I've ever met wants to be the puppet. So that's just a little, but as far as coaching and mentoring, I will tell you that George, my stepfather, who I was just talking about, passed away in January 2019 of a sudden heart attack. And at that time, he was a mentor to me. I felt like, man, right away at first, I'm like, damn, this can't be happening. And I'm a 40 some years old at that time, I guess 41, something like that. I'm thinking, man, I guess the reins are past. It's my time to take up the torch. And in that moment, I realized that I don't know enough to take up the torch. I've been operating off of street smarts, man. And I started hitting a ceiling. And I'm like, man, something's stopping me here. And street smarts are the thing I think you need to start with. Like book smarts compared to street smarts, knowledge compared to street smarts. Street smarts is the hustle, the action, get you like going. Because if you can know everything and not take action and not go anywhere. So, but at some point with that street smarts, you hit a ceiling. And then you have to kick into knowledge and the coaching and the mentoring. So when George passed away, I ran into Grant Cardone. Now, say what you want about Grant. He's flashy, doing all this boasting, but he's a professional marketer. He's the king of that. And he knows what he's doing with that. Well, I ran into him right after my stepfather passed away. And that was the torch that, that's the person that needed to pick up the torch in my coaching and mentoring. So what I noticed with that is that I had that street smarts, and now I needed that mentoring, that coaching to guide me to bust through the next level and then to be able to help people more. Because if I'm hitting a ceiling, I'm not going to be able to help people much. So it is imperative that you get some coaching and mentoring, because what'll happen is you skip steps. you can advance through mistakes that they made. You could speed up the process. And not only that, the people that you find that coach and mentor you, you actually, believe it or not, help them just as much as they help you.
Thank you for watching our short clips on Alonzo Academy. If you'd like to watch the next short clip, click here. If you'd like to watch the entire podcast, click here.